Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Wealth Alchemist podcast. Today, I have a beautiful friend on the call with me. She is a marketing strategist who supports expert professional service providers to create firework experiences that attract ideal clients into one place that spark conversations that lead to more sales. Choose from dozens of firework experiences to create your own leveraged, unique, and repeatable process to keep your pipeline full and hit your revenue targets predictably without requiring all your time. I like that, Cat. Did I say your name? It's Cat. Did I say your name?
No, it's Cat.
Oh,
it's Cat. I should be just the intro is enough for me.
I was like, did I say it before I started or not? Her name is Cat Stancik.
Beautiful friend works for me.
This beautiful friend. Her name is Cat Stancik. Cat and I met through the organization you guys have probably heard of. There's been a few of you guys on here at the Dames. You ladies, you're not guys. And we actually recently just had the absolute pleasure of meeting in person at PodFest, like a month ago? Is it already been a month? I feel like it has like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe it's probably only been 3 weeks.
I think it's been 3 weeks, but the 2 of those weeks were COVID infested. So.
They were COVID infested. So we met in real life at PodFest and we hit it off. We've been two peas in a hit off pod ever since. I absolutely adore you. I'm super duper excited to have you here. And Cat, one of the things I love about Cat, and you'll hear as we go through the show today, is she brings the fire and she's got amazing ideas. Like these are out of the box thinking ideas. So grab your cup of tea or your headphones, go for your walk, and get excited for this show. Okay, so we're going to talk today about marketing strategies, ultimately, and how we can get you more clients. Who wants more clients? I'm sure if you're here still listening, you do. So tell me, Miss Cat, about going from, I want to start this with this, like the visibility piece. Really allowing ourselves to be seen, right? Because I think, when we start to talk about the concept of getting more clients, oftentimes the first piece of resistance that we even have to that is allowing ourselves to be seen or being in our too muchness or I couldn't do that over there because of this, or I couldn't this. So tell me a little bit about because I know you've got some thoughts on this.
Yeah. I mean, visibility is a key play for me in terms of everything revolves around it. It's a qualifier for even to even work with me, honestly, because I don't want to have to convince someone that being visible is actually a pretty key strategy in the business. It doesn't mean that you have to grow and scale your business that way. It just makes it easier for my clients to get results when they do that. But there is still, when people, even speakers, even people who do content or Facebook Lives or podcasting, there's still this activated trigger around being seen. And I think a lot of it has to do with just societal expectations of what we've been, socialized to project in terms of this perfection, and we know this as moms and business owners and whatever other label you want to slap onto us is having to be a 10 on the 1 to 10 scale for whatever label has been placed on you. And it's hard to juggle everything and to be perfect at everything and to kind of deliver at that level. And so I think it's really about showing up as a real person, which actually is the thing that enables more people to want to buy from you, because when you really show up as who you are, then a real relationship and real connection can happen. And it's actually a strategic advantage to helping you shorten the sales cycle.
I'm laughing because this is so relevant in so many ways, right? Like it was an inner laughter, everybody, because it really is. This is something that I've been diving into on a very personal level lately in many relationships around my life with different people who represent different things to me, and how vulnerable or how seen I can become and how many places I can allow that to be seen. And really interestingly, the places where this is happening most right now is with men in my life, friends, clients, mentors. Like so many different men are showing up in my life to allow me this space to be seen in all of my vulnerabilities, in the places where I think like, oh my God, that's the shamiest, most like, how could I have that? Oh my God, that's like seductress. Like, oh my God, how could I possibly want that thing? Right. Like all of those things that are in the depths of the cruxes of who we are. And when I let them out to be seen, and this actually started for me last year when I was doing some work around shifting unhelpful patterns I was having. And I was working with someone to do that, like addiction type stuff. And he brought to me the experience of unconditional love. like to really be loved in all of my shame. I didn't matter what I said. I love you. You're amazing. Carrie, you're freaking phenomenal. Go do this. Of course you can do that. It doesn't matter that that ever happened to you. You're amazing. And when you can be met in that, there is such power in allowing yourself to actually be seen. And the more that I call people into my life, because this was, I guess, an unconscious choice, which I didn't realize I was doing, but now I do realize, and I'm saying this out loud for anyone who's here ready to do this. You will bring people into your life that are going to be that reflection for you so that you can have the safe space to go and explore yourself into these vulnerable places. And what I have found, because it is really freaking hard, and whether you're online and you're being seen online, I'm saying this because it doesn't matter which place we look at this. I think we can go deeper in these interpersonal relationships because it's safer versus online where, I don't know the person how they're going to react to me.
It's easier to uphold the Facebook facade than Instagram perfection when there's that distance.
Right. Yes. Right. So when you do this though, it magnifies more from the personal, I think, right. In that way. But what I have found is the more vulnerable I get, the more that I allow myself to be seen in a very deep and intimate way, the more loved I am by every human being that has seen me. And the more that they are like, I am so proud of you. Go fucking do this. You are a rock star. You're the most amazing, gorgeous woman, yada, yada, yada. And in female relationships too. And so I say this because it's really scary when we start to put ourselves out online. Really freaking scary. And I know, I've been doing it for a long time, so I can forget how easy, but there are times like right now, I wrote a post yesterday that the title of the post, I'm going to say this here, like I'm going to count myself accountable because then I'll have to fucking put the post up. But the title of the post is like, does it make your pussy wet? Right. And I'm like, God, really? You made me write this? What? Why does it have to be me? And you want me to put a picture of me in my boudoir photo shoot on that? What? It has to go online? Can't that just be personal? And I sit here saying it here in this podcast, but it's like when you actually get into the fullest expression of who you are, it doesn't matter that 10 years ago, what you might be saying right now was scary to me and it wouldn't be scary to me now. But me saying that right now and being in the fullness of who I am and showing myself that, it still brings up shit for me. To be seen in it. And so we have to go through these periods. It doesn't matter who you are or where you are on this journey. It comes up for us all the time.
No, any entrepreneur is going to tell you that what we're doing is all trauma work, right? Like we are all working and doing the thing that is helping us overcome stories that have been put on us and stories we've telling ourselves and whatever it is. And there is this crossing path between being seen and showing up. Mm-hmm. Right. And really looking at like you're being seen, but you're also showing up. Like you can be seen out there, but you can be seen in a crowd. Yeah. Showing up really helps you. You're standing out and you're saying, I choose this. I volunteer to activate and continue to trigger the trauma as a healing, but as a healer. Right? Because in the example of who you are and how you're showing up, are you in turn allowing others to do the same for themselves? 100%. Right. And that's marketing. And people don't understand that's being visible. That's being seen. That's showing up. That's leading from the front. Hell, it's leading from an esoterical all around beingness. So people can choose to view it from whatever angle and whatever place they are in their life. But it really is something that is the ultimate differentiator, right? At the end of the day, we are our product. We are the brand. We are the person, whether you have a huge conglomerate or you are still trying to figure it out and you got $10 in the bank account or you've got 100 million. It doesn't matter. It's still this showing up and being willing to be real and having real conversations. And part of it is really understanding where that line is for each.
Oh, totally.
Right.
Totally. I want to actually,
where's the private, where's the personal?
I want to actually say here too, because I think this is something that people get really messy with in messaging when they start to become more quote unquote vulnerable. I don't want to see your diary report either.
There's a line.
There's a line.
You want to get right up to that line. You do. You want to get right up to it. But there's vulnerability. And then so all of that is infused with the intention, right?
It is.
So is your intention to show up as a real person or is your intention to try to convert from this post? Right? There's a huge difference. And so many marketers are out there saying, be real, be vulnerable. But is this to do good or can it potentially do harm?
Right.
I see people leveraging. It's like, there are plenty, I'm probably gonna get shit for this. There are plenty of people who've had, I'm gonna try to bring it back. There are plenty of people who've had horrible stories in their life. And there's people who use that as a pity buy. And there's people who use it as an injection of inspiration, right? Both of those can be monetized, but it's the difference between having your own battery source and energizing yourself versus having to plug into other people to energize. And that's a vampire, right? We don't want energy vampires in our space. And because when you read it, you have that feeling of like, ooh, too far, right? And you also want to sometimes do that because that's what marketing's supposed to do too. It's supposed to say, hey, I'm not your person. That's okay. Your post, that's going to attract the right people because it takes a stand. You're showing up, you're being seen, and you're claiming your real estate. And that's what so many people don't do is they keep renting apartments and they never actually build their own house. When you do a post like that, you are building your own house, your piece of the world, your ecosystem that you can build wealth on.
Yeah, that you can share. And I think something that's coming through for me to say around that is that if I bring it back to the other piece, because I love what you said around that, but the other piece that I was just talking about in regards to not being like a diary, right? Yeah. I think this is really interesting because it is a fine line, because if anyone's listening to this, you've probably read a post of mine. And I'm sure if you've read a post of mine, there is very vulnerable shit shared. And it doesn't, but if you look at how it's shared, it's not sharing, dumping my shit. It's sharing, saying, here's what I've gone through. And this is the lesson I've learned from this experience. And I call
those cat's fables,
right?
What's the lesson? What's the story? And then what's the lesson learned? See, that's the end right there. Are you leaving people in a negative energetic space? And you can have a negative story. Shit happens.
Right.
But what are you bringing them to?
And what do you need to be telling it for? Because sometimes people tell stories that I don't need to hear online. Keep it to yourself.
No. And it's funny how much harm some people are doing to their own reputation, because some stories, it is a matter of timing. So sometimes a story that you share is something that you share from 2 years ago, and sometimes it's 20 years ago. But if you had shared it the moment that it happened, it wouldn't have the impact, and it would actually probably create harm, not only to your reputation, but to the people who've invested in working with you or who are in your community.
Yeah.
So there is some consideration to be taken in terms of, here's the point. You got to be strategic. Yeah. And you got to stop just flinging stuff out on the internet for the sake of flinging stuff out because someone told you had to do something a certain way. But really taking a step back and looking at how do these pieces play and what is the overall experience that you want someone having of you. And so many people don't focus on that.
Yes. Yeah. And I think we also get drilled in a lot that there is a perfect prescription for everybody of how showing up looks. And I know when I first started, but I won't even say that. I won't say before you first started, but about 6 years ago, I made a commitment because I was following somebody who wrote every day online. So I made a commitment to myself to journal and write every day. I will tell you, it was an amazing practice. It's a fucking amazing practice. And I actually would recommend that everybody, if you have never done it, do it. Like take 5 days a week and say, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to give 20 minutes to write something. And you may not choose to put it online. Say that you're going to write it for online and you might get to the end of it and go, this sucks. I hate this. And you might not do it. But the practice of doing it, if you have never been in the person that sends a message into the world of actually putting words to what you do, it will change your life because you will find the words, right? It doesn't mean that all of them have to go out. That said, it's also not for everybody to do that every day, and it's not required. Right? Like I loved that practice. It was amazing for me. I did it for a long time. And now I'm in a place actually that because so much of my content is automated, that I had somebody say to me, Carrie, I was looking at your Facebook wall the other day. You had all these things that don't really quite match with where you're at right now. And it was interesting. It's like an interesting reflection on my energy around things. Cause I was like, oh yeah, so much of my content out right now is my podcast. It's already done by somebody. It's been created by somewhere. And I haven't sat down and written every day. And so it really inspired me. So I'm sure by you guys hearing this, I'm sure you will have seen me writing more because it really inspired me to start writing more again because I love it. Like it's part of my process. And the other piece that it's part of a process is like in doing so, I think this is the healing. And I love that you actually brought healing into this because most people don't look at putting our faces online as healing and putting our message out to the world and bringing in people and creating amazing experiences as healing. But in order to do any of that, in order to create these programs online, in order to put your content online, in order to put yourself in lessons online, you have to actually remove the shame. Because I can tell you, there have been many things I've put online that have been like, oh my God, I'm ashamed that I did this. But in removing and saying it and calling yourself out on it and removing the shame, it disappears. Like the energy of that disappears. And I'm sure so much of my healing has happened because I said, look at this stupid thing that I did. Now I'm done. Now it can move. Look at this amazing thing that I did.
Right? I loved it to think of those things as just bringing the humanity back into business. Like, I'm here for that. I'm here every single day to bring the humanity back into marketing, bringing the humanity back into sales, because it's actually one of the things I do with like my clients, for example, is I'll share stories of how that didn't work out. Or I will tell them, you guys are seeing me do something online right now. Do not duplicate. Like, I'm testing something out to see if it works. It might work great and I might fall on my face. Most people in the outside world don't know the difference, but on the back end, it is an experience. And it is about pushing and evolving and looking at how can I do something and then in turn reach back, which is an issue that a lot of women like struggle with. It's, there's only so much room for us, right? And so if someone comes up next to me, then they're taking room away from me. And so I got to push them back. Like, this is really rampant in the corporate space, and it's actually pretty rampant in the entrepreneurship space, but it's hidden a little bit better. And so really looking at, through your own evolution, how are you reaching back and enabling other people to do the same thing faster and celebrating that?
Yes. Woo woo. Lots of celebration. Okay. So something you mentioned before we got on this call, you were talking about bro marketers keeping you broke. I feel like this is a great time to talk about that because, well, I'm not even going to say it. Let's reach up together and rise up.
I was talking to someone about it the other day, and I, went on one of my famous soapbox moments. This cat goes on a tangent. And basically what I said was like, all they want to do is keep you broke. I just threw my pen down because I get so mad about it. And I was like, oh my God, that's what they're doing. That's right. So it's that program where you invested and then you had a problem and they said, no worries, we can totally help you with that. You just have to make another investment. It's always that next buy button, essentially. And all they want to do is basically look at how they can give you just the amount of information that keeps you stuck.
Yeah.
While still making you feel like you've actually done something. It's disgustingly beautiful, right? That they're able to do that and just do this bait and switch and really not supporting people in actually truly creating wealth. And the problem is they just perpetuate other people, other copycats, if you will, to do the exact same thing. And it's why people are so burned out. And it causes issues for us because we're actually delivering results. But we've got to overcome all of these objections of bad investments that I've made, of being sold into something that you never should have been sold into, of promises that were never delivered on, and just waste of time and energy. It's infuriating. Yeah, they're heavily invested in keeping you buying, but keeping you stuck so that you continue to buy.
Okay, there's going to be two questions I'm asking from this. The second one I will ask in a second. I'm curious to hear, I thought you brought up a really interesting point about we bought into things and we're sold into things that we shouldn't have been sold into, right? And we've all been there. We've all done it. We've all spent money places that like the second you walked in the door, you're like, that sucked. Bad choice.
Like it's that moment of like, I could have been teaching that on stage. How did I get conned into this?
Or it's just the wrong place, right? Like, there's so many different things about it. So with all this bro marketing that we are seeing in the world still, God, it is a still because it's been so long. And these sales pages, what are some hints or tips maybe that we could look for as we look at these sales pages is to stop ourselves from getting caught into this trap of this perpetual cycle of bro marketing?
Yeah, I think it's really around where is the decision coming from? Is it coming from an ego space or is it coming from a heart space? We know this is just marketing and it's just facts, basically. Most people come to us in crisis modality, right? They are panicking, they're freaking out, they need to solve a problem and it has to happen now. And they're going. It's true. And when we just accept that, we can start having better kinds of conversations. Now, the problem is that person buying from a like complete ego space and just, I want to buy this solution and just, I need to have it solved now and I don't want to do any work? Or are you looking at it from, is this going to contribute to the foundational components that's going to help me scale as a business? And so really looking at having an honest, almost an audit with yourself, of having a real conversation and saying, what are the gaps? What is it that I'm really missing in my business? Is it something I need to learn? Is it something that someone else needs to do for me? Or, what are the pieces that are going to help me create repeatable success? And I think that's the piece that most people try to skip, right? Like, I've seen people invest in sales teams and they're not yet converting consistently enough on their own to actually set up those sales teams for success. So I would really look at, it's a conversation, because it takes two to have a conversation. Yes, it is their fault for closing you into something that you shouldn't have been closed into. And it's also your fault, you yourself, for investing and making that decision. Like, there has to be ownership on both sides of this. And yes, there's manipulative NLP and it happens and it sucks that it happens. But I think there's certain indicators also, like not having enough testimonials, the same kind of testimonials. So whenever there's a page where I see a bunch of names, high level names as the testimonials from someone who they themselves is also maybe potentially not a high name, or maybe even is a high name, I start questioning things, because I'm like, were they all in a mastermind together where they decided to buy from each other or to launder the money between their programs and be testimonials for each other? You really need to start questioning the process and the system. And if the person is willing to have a conversation with you, right? There's a lot of indicators, but it really does sometimes come down to a gut feeling, and then really looking at being a little bit of more of a mature business owner and making those kinds of decisions.
Yeah, I love this. I love this inquiry. And I think sometimes it's also about just asking yourself, is this what I need, or am I afraid of missing out? Right? The FOMO thing.
Oh yeah.
Is it really what I need, or am I just doing it because I feel like I need to be there? And there's been many times like it's a discernment, because I used to do FOMO a lot more. And now I'm like, do I really? No.
Yeah.
And the answer is no. And sometimes it's stuff that I really want to do that I'm like, no, okay. And you've got to listen to that as well.
Yeah. I would also, there's a big red flag for me in the online space with people. It's the one solution approach. This is all you'll ever need.
Yeah.
Right. Like when you've got
break through everything and you're going to have this amazing result in 6 figures in 4 weeks, and just follow our plan.
Oh, mine was 24 million in 24 hours. I mean, I don't know where you're.
That wasn't from Africa. Some man in Africa, Nigeria, offering you 24 million in 24 hours.
Many a Nigerian prince will be involved in this process. But that's the thing. It's those easy button approaches. It's a little bit of if it sounds too good to be true, the likelihood is that it probably is. I will caveat that with one thing, which is if it sounds too good to be true without doing the work. Now, I don't mean hustle. I don't mean grind. But if someone is promising the laptop lifestyle without any level of effort or intentionality, then you're getting conned.
Yeah.
And so these are also experiences that karmically, or, whatever soul contract, however you want to define it, everyone needs to go through it. I feel like it's unfortunate, but, you need to understand what that is sometimes as part of growing and evolving. It's not something I wish on anybody. But
it happens.
It seems like it has to be a gauntlet sometimes. I want to create a world where that's not the case, but
I think this is a thing, right? We got to fall down to walk.
Right.
And this is I think a lot of people, it's actually a really good point. I talk about this with my clients when we talk about money and risk and investing. And I'm like, you're going to lose money somewhere. Like, plain and simply, at some point, you're going to make an investment that doesn't work and you're going to lose money. It's going to not be.
But your reaction to it is the key. Because I've talked to people, and I use this as a qualifier. So what programs have you been a part of, and what worked and what hasn't? And if they give me a myriad of different kind of programs that they've been in and how every single one hasn't done anything and hasn't worked, there's a red flag that starts flying up the flagpole. So, however, if that person goes, I've invested in these things and I didn't get the ROI, but here's what I implemented and here's what I learned, that to me is not a red flag. No, that means that they try to take the benefit of what they could from the situation. And it just means that they don't have certain key foundations in place, because what happens is most times when you have those foundations in place, those strategies could start working.
Totally.
But the problem is most people are peddling strategies that are well beyond where someone is in business, that aren't in alignment with the right business assets. And so all of these components that go into creating strategy, which isn't just a fly-by-night thing, are not actually being taken into consideration. And it riles me up beyond anything else.
I have to say, I'm going to add my one peeve of bro marketing, and then I'm going to ask you the next question. My biggest bro marketing peeve, for any of you out there who want to know, I hate when I get to sales pages that they've started doing with only videos, and there's no time on the video, and you cannot fast forward the video, and you can't make it like a 2x speed. And there's like a 60 fucking minute presentation, and they've repeated themselves at least 7 times, like literally the same freaking slide, at least 4 times to the thing. And I'm like, you could say this in 10 minutes. And
could have been an email.
It could have probably been in an email. But at least in like 10 minutes, not an hour. And you can give me the option to freaking go wherever I want to go on this. And they do it. It's so, I've gotten to the point now that I just won't. If that's the sales page and there's nothing underneath it, you can't do anything. It gives you no other information. Market. And I'm like,
who they're targeting? People who have a ton of time.
And to sit and watch an hour-long sales letter.
Yeah, it's just
like
a VSL.
I can figure out in 30 seconds.
That's what people don't understand. And this is the problem. And it's the problem. And it's also the reason why it's not people's fault, right? They're not savvy to these strategies. They don't understand that a webinar is just a sales video. It's a video sales letter. That's what VSL stands for. A workshop and a masterclass are variations, but they actually deliver extraordinarily more higher levels of value, and all in different degrees. Like, people don't understand the different strategy. Here's another soapbox. There is not a single strategy that's dead. That is a strategy, and it absolutely works.
It does work. It absolutely freaking works.
For the right audience. But that's the problem, is people are picking strategies that are not in alignment with 2 components. And I talk about this with my firework experiences. The first one, it's not in alignment with your strengths. There are certain marketing strengths that each and every single one of us have, but a lot of us are using strategies that aren't in alignment with it because it was the one solution that will fix all your problems. The second piece is, what is your ideal client actually focused on? What is it that they're looking for? How do they behave online? What are they consuming in terms of information? Then, once you understand those 2 things, then you pick the strategy. Once you have one that you effectively implement in your business, you pick a second. And then you finally pick a third. When you have those 3 pieces in place, you have a strong, stable ladder that will help you climb to success. And that's what starts happening when you have those 3 things in place, is you start creating an ecosystem. So instead of these flash in the plan, strategies where you do a little spurt over here and a little spurt over there, you actually start strategically connecting things, and you start looking at it from the angle of an individual's experience of you overall. So I'm going to use a little bit of an example, because people usually this hits with them. Think of like that lead magnet that you were super excited about. Oh my God, this is going to be amazing. I love it. Maybe it was even an ad, and you clicked on it, and then you got it, and it was crap. Think about how you thought of that person before you opted in, and how did you think of that person after? And so many people are out there, and they're not thinking of all the different ways people experience us, and how to strategically connect them and make it a good experience every single time, because it's happening without us knowing. Meaning, it's not happening in my conscious level, but it's happening in the online space.
Yes, 100%. So why don't you tell us about Firework Experiences and what those are?
So Firework Experiences are actually how to do a little bit of what I said, which is align that and identify that right marketing strategy that aligns to you, that aligns to your ideal client. But it's how you go from what often feels like door-to-door virtual knocking into creating an engaged and active community. And it doesn't have to be a Facebook group. Let me just go ahead and take that objection off the table. It's a community of people who want to hear from you, who want to consume your information, and who want to buy from you. And it's actually the fastest way to shorten a sales cycle. So once we start tacking these on one on top of the other, it's how, when people experience more of you, they want to get to a buying decision faster, because we want to get the people out of buying purgatory. It's the worst place for everybody involved.
Out of buying purgatory. Okay, so Kat gave a presentation at Podfest, so I know a little bit about this. I'd love for you to share some of the different experiences, like what kind of firework experiences are there? Because this is, and I want to say this because I'm very aligned to what Kat is talking about. It makes a lot of sense to me. And it was something that she and I had a big conversation about for my business because I've been wanting to do more of these as well and getting more people involved in the community. So watch out for them, everybody who's listening in. We're going to do some more for sure. And for me, like, I think that what I love a lot about what you bring, and like you said, it's not like there's not one right thing for everybody. And I knew for me, and this is what you guys are going to start seeing more, is that I love being in front of people. I love it. Like these conversations, even though some of you cannot see my face, you're listening to me on audio right now. I'm still having a conversation. I know you're listening. I also know that I'm having a conversation with Kat. Like I love engaging in these conversations. I love also having face-to-face time with my listeners and the people who are engaged in my community. I want to see your faces. I want to hear your stories. And so it's really starting to look at, when you start to look at these firework experiences, how we can create amazing experiences of ways that we can engage with our clients that are in alignment for us, right? Like for some people, going off and running like live events things might be amazing, but for the hermit that's the introvert, they're like, fuck no. But then somebody comes in with some, marketing that's like, you've got to go be a speaker. You will never do it. You will never do it. And so I would love to hear some of the ideas that you have, because there were some really amazing ones, of ways that people can start to create engagement in their communities with ease that are in alignment for them.
Yeah. So one of the most important drivers is value. So, I mean, that's one of the other pieces too, is the bro marketers give as little value as possible to get to the pitch as fast as possible, because they're focusing on that credit card clearing. They're not focused on actually providing transformation. My philosophy is all about relationship marketing, relationship sales, permission-based marketing, permission-based sales, and all that. And the primary vehicle is value, because I stand and trust and know that the revenue comes behind the value that I drive. And so this is not about creating content dependency. It's not about having people just stick around, but people can't know what you can do for them unless they experience you. So it's the difference between punching them in the face with pain and instead connecting them to the possibility of having you in their life, the possibility of leveraging your solutions and your knowledge in their business in whatever way that serves them best. So Firework Experiences is how you position your authority and expertise by being a firework, by demonstrating your capabilities, which then ignites them to they themselves become fireworks, which in turn enables their clients to do the same. And it's how we create a bouquet effect of impact in the world.
To turn on. I'm in the turn on world right now, right? As I prepare for this, I'm not going to tell you guys the name of this program that I'm launching yet, because it's not ready to be live. And I don't know when this is going live, but it's like everything's about the turn on right now. Right. And it's that same concept, right? Like the firework, like how can we turn our lights on? How can we, and I say turn on, and like literally, quite honestly, like how do we turn ourselves on in all aspects of that? But what you're saying is like, how can I turn myself on to shine so that you see me? And then how can I help somebody else? And ultimately, like my phrase being, together we rise, right? Like the more that we can help other people, the more that we rise up.
And this ties into that being seen and doing it in a way where you're building community around people. So this is around you. These are people who want to see you. They want to be in your presence. They're actively seeking your input, your guidance, whatever they can get, because they see the value. So let's amplify that. So right now there's 15, and I keep collecting, sometimes inventing, modifying marketing strategies out there that align to those two key areas, your strengths and your ideal client's focus. So there's a couple of ones that you might already even be doing. Now, the brilliance in that is then there's really a big opportunity to just modify, to optimize, to improve, because you're so close to it as an individual that you need someone who understands digital marketing, or like myself, and be able to make those small tweaks that would drastically increase the conversion rate. I'm going to take the stage. So
there you are. Go, girl.
So, I mean, I'm on low, right?
Do it.
But that's what it is. It's really infusing yourself into showing up and being seen. And so, like, for example, a lot of us have probably done workshops or we've done master classes. But so much of what we don't focus on is the other experiences that surround that experience. And so, yeah, you might have, let's use a master class, because a lot of people have done them. You might use that master class and you might show up and it might be even decent content, but nobody did the next step. Maybe not enough people even showed up to the thing. So we're looking at bookending that experience with other activities that create and amplify that experience for conversion. That's the opportunity. And that's what the bro marketers are not teaching you. They've taught you that doing a masterclass is important. Still works, still converts. I still do them. But it's these other pieces that they're conveniently leaving off that helps with really drastically increasing that, again, conversion. Another one that a lot of people get interested in, and I think there's more and more people who want to do these, are campfires. So this is a way of, especially if you're in an energetic space, meaning you focus on energy with your clients. And I'm not talking about the broke manifestors, but this is where people are craving deep, intense connection, and they're needing it to be fast because that's how they're going to get people to buy. So if your business is dependent on people really experiencing you and understanding the value of that conversation, then this is that strategy you want to be leveraging. There's other ones like,
so what's the campfire? What is the actual strategy? The campfire strategy? Like, what do you?
Oh, well, I don't know if I'm going to release that. Okay.
You don't have to.
What?
You can't, well, you don't have to.
No. So basically what you want to do is, so we've all heard of 5 and 3 day challenges, right? And everybody roll your eyes because they suck. No one has time for that. So if you think, let's use an example. If your end client is a Fortune 100 CEO, your Fortune 100 CEO is not coming to a 5-day challenge. They don't have time for that. That's too much. However, that person might show up for a very specific experience, and they might show up for 1 hour, once a week, 3 different times, where you have those deep conversations. Now, how this translates is these experiences need to stack. So that basically becomes the bouquet experience, right? The firework at the end where everything comes together and they have that mind-blowing, oh my God, I see how this all connected. Now, the strategy again comes into seeding the offer, the CTA, and what that learning experience is for that person and how it stacks.
Got it.
So that's one of the campfire strategies. Other ones are, of course, podcasting. So a lot of times, though, people don't think of podcasting as a lead generation effort. They're looking at downloads, they're looking at subscribers, all of the wrong kind of metrics. And my podcast friends are going to reach out and be like, what the hell? But when you're looking at podcasting from a lead generation approach, you have to think about, are you treating your guests like one night stands? And are you treating the places where you've been a guest, where you're treating the host like a one night stand, right? Looking at what is that relationship that you're building, because this is the problem when it comes to leads. Not everybody, a lot of people out there, and this, the pros teach this, is a lead is a client, and that is the only place and world that they can live in. And that's not true. We need to think about people and leads multidimensionally. It can be another podcast. It can be another speaking opportunity. It can absolutely be a client. It can be a best friend. And what I always like to say is, how many people have you referred, even though you've never worked with them, because you like them? And how many people are you enabling to have that kind of experience with you, so that you can allow for more of those kinds of referrals? And then are you being strategic and putting a process and system in place, and not just waiting for the phone to ring, hoping that someone was in a good mood and remembered you that day? So this is about intentionality and outreach and connection. And again, building that system and process on the back end. So even if you're out of your business for 2 weeks, you've got 78 emails to respond to, because it's a true story right now of actual people who are saying, what does it look like to work with you? Right.
It's amazing. Congrats.
Thank you.
Awesome. So so you said there was, I think 13, I think we've heard a couple. Are there a few more that you want to just share?
Sure. So workshops are another one. Speaking is another one too. So we can start seeing like how they start connecting. So you're a speaker, you're a podcaster, you have surely done a masterclass. You may have even done a workshop, and thinking about, all right, well, let's say someone comes to you and sees you at a speaking event. What's the next experience? Could it be someone that could be on your podcast? Could it be that they need to go to that workshop because the speaking was just a keynote and not necessarily a workshop? So looking at where are those people in the process, and what is that next potential experience that moves them closer to a buying decision, which in turn helps shorten the sales cycle.
I love it. Yeah. It's interesting because where I'm cycling back into at the moment is how we were talking about on the sales page and making sales decisions that don't serve us. I think one of the first things that everybody gets to do in order to make smart decisions about where we're spending our money and investing our money is like looking exactly at this, right? This changed, like this really started to change everything for me, because about 2 years ago, as I wrote my book and I started to get really clear on my message. And this is why I was also saying, by the way, if you haven't started writing or you haven't started speaking or haven't started doing it, like just make a habit of it, whether you put it out or not, just make a habit of starting, because through that, that's when you're going to find your message. That's where you're going to find like the potency of what you're doing in the world.
Yep.
Right. And it will evolve. It will evolve over time. You're going to suck when you first start doing this. And it probably sometime even in the end, when you're like,
I was great
person,
when I first started.
Just great all the time.
I was born this amazing. So
yes. But the point being that when I started to look at like, and I dropped the book in, you know, The New Wealth, and it was this amazing like framework for everything that I was doing. Then from there, I was like, oh, what could come next? What would come next? What would come next? And through the evolution, and this is also a process, I think, of trying and messing it up too, right? Like we can try a program, you can try a marketing strategy, you can try, this is going to lead to this, and go, yeah, that part worked, but that part over there, the second part, yeah, that kind of fell flat, right? And then we make, and then we tweak, and we make, and then we tweak. And so for me, now when I look at my business, because I'm getting so clear on the path,
yeah,
if it doesn't fit into that path, it doesn't get to be there. And I don't need to spend money on it. And I don't even have to spend time on it. And I think this is something that happens a lot too, even in free resources. Like I am really diligent and aware of where I would put my time and energy, because there could be something over there that's really interesting, but is it relevant right now? And I'm talking especially with marketing and sales. Like if I'm working with somebody and I'm on a path and there's this free shiny thing over there, stay away from the free shiny thing over there, right? Just keep working your path, keep working your path. And then you'll find this groove, and then everything kind of just starts to glue together. Right. You know, like that's what I'm finding now with like my intro to crypto, and I have a DeFi training, and I've got my mastermind, and it all just flows together. And so then as I bring in these pieces that are the firework experiences, well, what would be juicy for me to get to do to connect with my clients to help them be a part of this experience. Right.
And so hit the nail on the head, having everything to do with what this comes down to in my word for this, and people have different words, but this is play. Oh, it's why your strengths drive the firework experience, right? I could easily start with the ideal client's focus. I don't start with that because they can be interested in a lot of things, but if it doesn't align to your strengths, it's just, it'll create friction in your business, and friction distance success. So what is play? What is enjoyable? I have this amazing scientific philosophy that basically you'll do something that you love. And that's the problem, is most people don't love doing lead generation. And you can enjoy it. You can, and you know, to the point where it's something you look forward to doing.
I love it. It turns me on, honestly.
Right? But that's not people's relationship with sales and marketing, because they've been pushed and forced into strategies where they've had to sand down the corners of their squareness to fit in a round peg. And I'm here to say, you can be a square, you can be a star, you can be a triangle. It doesn't matter, because there's a strategy that fits you.
Yes.
And it will be customed and couture to your curves and angles and style and shape. And it will only amplify everything that is going and working for you.
Absolutely.
And whatever level of comfort that is. Here's the thing. There are no rules. There are no rules to marketing and sales. There are suggestions, there are recommendations, but you get to write the rules. So what rules are you, not you, Carrie, but you out there, are you living and telling yourself you have to abide by? Fuck that.
Fuck them.
If you're not having fun in business, you're doing it wrong. That's not to say there's not hard days, that there's not days where I don't still want to throw my computer out the window.
That I have to build automated emails that I'm like, blah. There's stuff that has to be done that we don't love. But overall, if you can say that the majority of your business is something that you love, and that was part of what I looked at when I started looking at what are the ways that I want to do lead gen. It was like, what is my strength? Well, my strength is being here, speaking to people and being in front of people and connecting with people. And so, well, what's going to bring that to me? And I love doing it. I genuinely love doing that.
And when you looked at the matrix that I put up on the slide, you had your 3 to 4 options right there, just to choose from. It's the sigh of relief that I've seen people experience, because I've seen them in my workshops. I've seen them in conversation, and I've felt it and heard these sighs of, I don't have to do that. I don't have to do those strategies that everybody says I should be doing to be successful. And I only have to do these things that I enjoy, and I can really create success, and I can have a multi 6-figure, 7-figure business doing it. Yes.
You will do it easier from pleasure than you will from pain.
Right.
Any day of the week.
Feel better for everybody involved. It'll feel better for your prospects that you can turn into leads.
Totally.
It's a way to scale in a way that brings joy to all the people in your life, your family members, right? Your friends, because you're not going to be showing up as that bitter, spiteful, annoyed, stressed out, overworked, burned out person in your life anymore.
Totally. All right, my dear. I know I could talk to you for like days on end, and we love to talk for days on end. Let's be honest. We talk individually for days on end to ourselves, to anyone who will listen.
Right?
Together.
We got flowers over here that are blooming quite nicely from all the CO2 that's been projected on them. So flowers in my office always do better than out there. And I'll tell you that.
That's funny. Okay. So do you have any last minute thoughts you would like to leave everybody with today? And before I even say that, I want to say thank you for the firework thoughts and these different things, because there's been so much today. There's been so much that we have dove into today and really played with, I will say. And so I invite anyone who's listening, I always love to do a little wrap up. I invite anyone who's listening to really sit into themselves. Like, first of all, like, what are you wanting to do? What are your strengths? Where are you at with things? What are you not sharing in the world because you think you can't? Where are you not putting your vulnerable self out there in a way that is empowering and impactful because you think it's too much, because you think you're not enough, because whatever? Start to really ask yourself these questions so that you can actually just go out, like from this call right here, this conversation that you've just heard right here, go out and start taking actions. Like Kat and I have said a lot of things that here that you can go and already take actions on. Start to even sit into what would it be an amazing experience? What would I love to bring to this world? And really start to, again, this other piece of what is it that I need in my business and my next steps in my business, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like where are my weaknesses at this level that I need to be able to move forward? So those are some things that we've talked about, which is awesome. And do you have any last moments that you would like to share with us? Any last words of wisdom, shall I say?
Yeah, I think it's really important to leverage the power of birds of a feather. So birds of a feather flock together. All you ever have to do is generate one lead to create an infinite supply. Because when you find that person typically is going to be hanging out with other right people. And so it's really about nurturing that relationship and being willing to notice and focus on not always just yourself, but on the good that you and yourself and being your best version can bring to the table. And that is how the change in the world is going to happen.
Yes. Oh, sister. I love it. How do they find you? Where do they get into your firework experiences? How do they experience your amazing juiciness? Let them know.
So if you're a good human, that's one of the biggest qualifiers that I have. If you're a good human and you're really looking to create that impact in the world, knowing that the revenue is coming with the impact that you're creating, I'd actually invite you to come check out my people and my community. So you can find that. I do a podcast mixer. And so this is for people who leverage visibility. So if you have a vlogcast, you do content, videos, lives, whatever it is, and you're looking for guests, you're looking to be a featured guest expert, both, then come check out leadbossmixer.com. And it's a mixer that I host every month, the second Friday of the month at 12 p.m. Eastern. And here's the one thing I can tell you, it is not going to be a waste of time. It will be one of the best hours that you will spend every single month connecting and communicating and really knowing good people. My philosophy is that you'd be more willing to support someone you like than if you only just knew what they did.
Yeah, I've been to her mixer. It is amazing. There's always beautiful people. I definitely recommend going. Some great people to meet there. Kat. Oh, wait, did you give the website? You didn't give the website yet.
Oh, no, I don't even worry about that. So like actionincubator.com is the website. It's entertaining. I need to change it. But yeah, I mean, I'm on the social platforms and pretty approachable and reachable. So
that's true. Thank you so very much for being here today, Miss Kat. I have loved this. Yeah, I'll leave it there. Have a wonderful week, everybody, wherever you are in the world, and I will see you next week. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you love what you heard, please help us get this message out to more people, because together we rise. Please review it, subscribe to the show, and share on social media. When you share, please tag me. On Insta, I'm at Carrie Norley, and on Facebook, I'm facebook.com/Carrie Norley1. or Carrie Kaplan Norley is my official name there. Please come and connect with me on social media and say hello. I love hearing from my listeners. And thank you so much for your support. I'm so excited to help you bring in the new wealth.